Hey guys, welcome to the channel. How's it going? I'm Mark from Mix It Studios, and today I want to talk about why live music gigs are so loud. Quite a few of you have been coming to my channel to watch some of my React videos under the Sound Engineer React series, and more of those videos will be coming. I recently bought a new camera, I upgraded my camera, and this camera I need a capture card for it. My old camera I could just hook it up by a USB connection to record through OBS, which is how I record the React videos. So I'm waiting on my capture card to arrive, but once that's sorted and I've got all that figured out, then I'll be able to start doing React videos again. I have already got one that I filmed on the old camera that I haven't edited yet, so that will be coming soon. So yeah, just bear with me. So why is live music so loud? Well, really, there's no easy answer to this question, but I'm going to try and answer it the best I can. There are a whole multitude of factors that come into play, and we are going to look at some of these in this video. For starters, if you imagine a live band playing in front of you, completely unamplified, if you've got a drummer there, say it's a rock band, you've got a drummer, a few guitars, a singer, all those different kind of elements in a band, a drum kit is naturally much louder than a singer could ever be, so they don't compete against each other very well. And with modern music, the way we write modern music, we don't really take into account those differing levels of volume, you know, the natural acoustic sound of an instrument, because we have the ability to alter volume levels, equalization, you know, compress things, put effects on them, do all of that when recording things in the studio, and then we can amplify things to do the same thing at a live concert. Whereas going back hundreds of years ago, when, you know, amplification wasn't a thing at all, recording wasn't a thing, music was written in a way, so if you look at classical music, when you have an orchestra, there's a reason why there's, you know, a quartet of violins, or often even more than that, to compete with maybe the percussion elements or whatever else. It's because the arrangements were written around the collective volume different instruments could produce. So the natural amplification of these instruments was taken into account into the arrangement, whereas that isn't something we actually need to do anymore because of recording and how studios work and studio magic, mixing and mastering, all those things, and then live with PA amplification. Of course, in terms of live music, once you start amplifying things, you are just adding more volume to whatever volume is already there. So, you know, this does quickly create issues because naturally certain things are already going to be quite loud, but to be able to balance them out in a way that those guitars and the drums and the bass and whatever else is going to be at the right level against a singer, you have to push the singer's vocal microphone much higher than those other elements. So you're just adding decibels upon decibels to the sound. When you add to this as well, not only does the PA system have to compete with the natural acoustic levels of an instrument, say a drum kit, but also already amplified levels of electric guitars or anything else that is already amplified before it hits the PA system. But again, they still need to be put through the PA system because it's going to sound strange if you only have the singer and the bass guitar or, you know, the drum kit or whatever going through the PA system, but not the guitars because they're already being amplified through guitar amplifiers, of course, unless you're going direct with some kind of amp modeling system. But yeah, the PA system has to be able to incorporate all the elements of what the musicians are playing on stage. This is more of a thing in larger venues. You can get away with it more in a smaller venue, say particularly like a small bar or pub or something like that. You don't necessarily have to put everything through the PA, and it might even just be vocals because that's all you need to really amplify. But the bigger you get with venues and the more expectations there are from the sound, the more you need to put through the PA and the more you need to amplify things. This is another reason as well why there's so much volume at play. People have certain expectations these days of how things will sound. Say with a kick drum or anything with low end, we expect particularly a kick drum to have that real thud to it, where it's really going to hit us in the chest. It's got that low end and sub frequencies, all there in the information in the PA system. And we expect a kick drum to sound that way, but actually acoustically, a kick drum doesn't really sound that way at all. So we're used to exaggerated sounds, and then the fact that we have control over sounds with equalization, adding effects to things, say reverb or delays or echoes on a singer's voice. We're used to all those kind of sounds. So again, you have that issue that people have certain expectations of the sound, and a lot of that comes with volume, because naturally the louder you have things, the more impressive and impactful it sounds. If you put on your favorite CD at home, if you put it on a quiet volume and then you turn the volume up, suddenly it sounds a lot more impressive. And that is because our ears are really tuned to be more responsive and receptive to louder sounds, and part of that sort of comes from our instincts in order to be alert to danger. But as we have evolved, we've kind of adapted, and it's not, it's not all about danger. It's just our ears still respond in that way to loud sound, and we've evolved for that to not just be a danger response, but just a general response where it's often more about, enjoyment or excitement. So all those things come into play as well. Now with stage volume, you have the issue of not just the acoustic sounds of the instruments, but also whatever amplified sounds there are going on stage. And then to add to that, stage monitoring. So you'll have additional speakers on stage to amplify things. Again, for the same reason, an audience needs to hear things in a certain way through a PA system, so they can hear everything clearly and succinctly. The same is needed on stage for a musician, particularly singers. They need to hear that amplified sound that's going through the PA back at them on stage through another speaker, which is referred to as a stage monitor or wedge. So that then adds more volume as well. So you've got all these increases in volume happening, and the fact that things do sound more impressive at louder volumes, you have more control over things amplified through a PA system in terms of tuning the sound. But obviously, yeah, it is a problem because live concerts have evolved to become very, very loud, often really to the degree where hearing damage can start to occur if you're not wearing hearing protection throughout the duration of a concert. I think what kind of did happen is as PA systems and live music sound evolved, things kept getting bigger and louder and more impressive, whereas now we've really started to hone in on the technology and improve and perfect upon it. PA systems are getting a lot more efficient. They don't necessarily need to be as loud in order to produce a level and balanced sound where the audience can hear things clearly and succinctly over the stage volume. So PA system designs are getting better. There are also other factors that come into play: musicians and sound engineers, people in general involved in a live sound production are becoming more aware of stage volume. Lots of famous rock musicians over the years are now having hearing problems, from mild hearing problems to very, very serious hearing problems. There's started to be a lot more awareness amongst both the audiences and the people, the musicians and the people involved in putting on the shows. So we've started to introduce things like just controlling stage volume more, and that partly comes from musicians just learning how to adapt their sound. So drummers having more control over their playing, maybe doing stuff to their kit that can mute the sound more. Guitarists not needing to turn up to 11 to get their favorite tone. There's stuff like amp modeling, going direct and reducing the need for amplification on stage, or even with amplification, you can get preamp attenuators, so you can attenuate the output to your guitar amp speaker on stage, but still get the tone from the head of your guitar amp or the preamp. So there are lots of things that are making this problem less of a problem. And in-ear monitoring is also a big one as well, where you don't necessarily need the stage monitors anymore. You can now hear yourself back through earbuds, which are much more discreet. They don't need to be turned up as loud. You can actually craft a much more balanced and easier to hear sound. So bands, when they get to a point where they have a monitor engineer, the monitor engineer will be mixing each member of the band, what they hear in their in-ear monitors, in the same way that a front of house engineer would be mixing the sound through the main PA system. So the monitor engineer will be applying EQ and compression and effects and all sorts of stuff, crafting the perfect sound that the musician can then hear directly in their ears. And so it's much more controlled and doesn't need to be as loud. So musicians are having less of a hard time hearing themselves on stage, which helps reduce the volume, and then that gives more control to the front of house sound engineer. They don't have to push things as loud in the PA system anymore. Speaker designs are getting more efficient, so PA systems don't necessarily need to be pushed as loud in order to project out to a large audience. So there's a lot that is being done to sort of improve the problem, but it's still definitely a very real issue. And the best thing I would advise to anyone is, if you are worried about getting hearing damage, is to just get some good earplugs. Whether you're going to a gig or you're playing a gig or you're a sound engineer, just get some earplugs. Wear them as much as you can. You don't necessarily have to wear them for a whole concert. If you're going to see a gig, you can, wear them for 15 minutes or the support band set, and then take them out when you really want to hear things properly. And if you get a good set of earbuds, like a custom molded set of earplugs, they tend to have a much more neutral response, so they're not affecting the frequencies that you hear and sort of muffling the sound. They'll just turn the volume down a little bit, but you'll still be able to hear things in a very similar way to how you would without earplugs. So yeah, I hope that has kind of been useful in explaining why gigs are so loud and kind of what's being done about it. I think it's an industry that has been rapidly evolving over the last handful of decades and has changed so much even in the last 10 years, so it's constantly improving. So before I go, I will ask you guys to gently click on that like button and also hit subscribe. That will really help me out. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so I'd love any help from you guys in supporting me in that goal. And also hit the notifications bell if you would like to keep up to date with my videos. I post content regularly, several times throughout the week, so yeah, there's plenty more great stuff to come. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys again in the next one.